It wasn't necessary because this was not an invasion. We didn't occupy a country. This was an arrest operation. This was a law enforcement operation. He was arrested on the ground in Venezuela by FBI agents, read his rights, and removed from the country. Obviously, this was not a friendly territory. So in order to arrest him, we had to ask the Department of War to become involved in this operation. The Department of War went in, they hit anything that was a threat to the agents that were going in to arrest them, and they hit anything that was a threat on the way out, and they hit anything that was a threat to them while they were on the ground. And that was a very limited and targeted operation.
That is President Donald Trump's top diplomat, Marco Rubio, speaking earlier in the day, responding to questions about the legality of yesterday's mission in Venezuela that saw the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Now, Rubio is rejecting criticisms that Congress was not informed. Hello, everyone. I'm Natasha Fatah, and you're watching CBC News Network. We are going to have extensive coverage for you throughout the day on this top story, continuing with some more reaction coming out of Washington. CBC's Katie Nicholson is in the U.S. Capitol tracking the latest.
An awful lot of questions around the operation, whether it was legal and really what happens next, especially within Venezuela, and what is the U.S. going to do? President Trump has said yesterday the U.S. would run the country until there's a proper transition, and he also indicated he wasn't averse to using boots on the ground if it comes to that. And to add to all of the uncertainty, of course, the president also appeared to dismiss the Nobel Prize winning leader of Venezuela's opposition, Maria Corina Machado, saying that he thought it would be very tough for her to be the leader and that she doesn't have the support or respect to step into that role. Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, as you noted, has assumed power in Venezuela, but it isn't clear how or if she's going to play ball with the U.S. Through this transition. We heard this morning from Republican Senator Tom Cotton. He supports Trump's actions. He noted that Rodriguez herself wasn't really recognized as a legitimate or part of the legitimate government. She was Maduro's number two. But he did go on to say this. Here's Senator Tom Cotton.
We'll see whether the vice president of Venezuela, who is sanctioned by the United States and many other countries, who is in league and hand-chosen by Maduro, wants to turn over a new leaf. I think we'll see whether or not they're going to let the opposition back into the country and have new elections, which is what the opposition itself wants. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered, but it's a great day that Nicolas Maduro, an illegitimate communist dictator and indicted drug trafficker, is no longer in charge of Venezuela.
Really, uncertainty is the driving theme throughout the morning. There are some Republicans who identify as part of that America First movement. They've been voicing their concerns about U.S. involvement in whatever transpires next in Venezuela. I think Representative Thomas Massie, who's a notable thorn in Trump's side of late, and former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that, this is not what they signed up for, accusing the president of breaking his word on avoiding foreign entanglement, something he had campaigned on the campaign trail. Some Democrats accusing the administration of misleading them about its intentions in Venezuela in the fall when they were asked about regime change, and they've called this action reckless over the weekend. Democratic leadership critical but careful to tread a line. A couple of the leaders noted that Maduro was an oppressive dictator, but insists that the president has to follow the Constitution. That meaning that their argument that this had to have gone through, this entire operation had to go through Congress before it was executed, and they're arguing that it is illegal because it was not. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy this morning questioned the legal underpinning here of the president's actions and whether Venezuela constituted an imminent threat to the U.S. or U.S. personnel. The idea being under Article 2 that the president could, if there was an imminent threat to the U.S., make this type of a decision. Chris Murphy saying he's not buying that. Here's Senator Chris Murphy.
Venezuela is not a security threat to the United States. They're not threatening to invade us. There is no terrorist group like Al-Qaeda operating there that has plans to attack the United States. To the extent that you care about the drug trade, yes, they produce drugs, but those drugs go to Europe. Fentanyl is the drug that's killing Americans. That's not coming from Venezuela.
And Natasha, there have been calls for a proper congressional briefing by the administration, more criticism likely to mount, and notably, some Democrats have even called for the president to be impeached over going over Congress's head. What we heard from Trump yesterday as a justification of not taking this to Congress is that Congress leaks. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio this morning also argued that Congress didn't need to authorize this action because it was a law enforcement operation and not an invasion.
Looks like we are leaning towards Team America World Police, but except the police have no rules. Because international law isn't a real thing, I guess. Which it kind of isn't. It's the big question of the day, I guess, that people are kind of going over, is whether or not, like, do you respect international law when you are the international superpower, right? Like, when you are the one that's supposed to be upholding all the law, are you the one that should also defend hostile nations in their own interests? And I it doesn't seem like obviously Trump doesn't want to. What worries me quite a bit is that this is like a really small action taken, and it's going to empower a lot of people. There's a concept in the Dictator's Handbook, basically about building a small coalition of loyalty underneath you when you're trying to like take over a nation or whatever. And when you do it, you basically do it through small military campaigns and then giving people power within the area to be able to control the space. And then eventually, just through consensus, you kind of get people supporting you. Like this, I may ask, how does an evil dictator kind of like take over? Well, that's how, is they get a lot of friends, and then they do a lot of crazy things that people kind of like, but they don't like, but they kind of are okay with. And then they just kind of inch their way forward in terms of their own influence. And this is a little bit worrying with Trump, especially. Wait, can I get YouTube to give me the vertical stream? I'm going to have to shut this one off for a second. Ba 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 da ba 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 da ba da ba ba da ba. Stream settings, dual stream. Yeah, I think I gotta stop the YouTube stream for a sec. Then once this is stopped, it should, if we refresh, maybe allow me to turn that on. Yep. I wish I could just turn that on by default and then start streaming again. Existing, where are you at? Please. There we go. Seems like that worked.
You're looking at video showing the extensive damage left after U.S. strikes on Venezuela. Parts of a 3-story building were destroyed. Its exterior wall was hit and steel fences outside were bent. Deformed shipping containers could be seen with their contents spilling onto docks, which really was a testimony to the force of these strikes. And on an airbase in the capital, trees were downed, cars were charred, and craters were left in the road. At least 40 people were reportedly killed in the large-scale assault early yesterday, and that includes civilians and soldiers. The U.S. military action has since drawn widespread international condemnation, with multiple countries urging a coordinated global response. Let's stay on this story, and we've reached this morning Jorge Heine. He is a former ambassador of Chile. He's also a non-resident fellow at Quincy Institute and author of The Non-Aligned World. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning.
Good morning. Delighted to be with you.
And I want to get a sense of the mood where you are in that region. How are the Latin American communities reacting one day after those attacks and also Maduro's capture?
Well, the reaction has been mixed. Presidents like President Lula of Brazil, President Sheinbaum of Mexico, President Boric of Chile, where I am right now, have condemned this U.S. attack on Venezuela, the bombing of the capital and the kidnapping of President Maduro and his wife. Other governments, the government of Argentina, the government of Ecuador, has come out supporting it. So the region is fragmented on this.
Let's talk more about that sense of things being a little bit fragmented, as you say. The fact that the reaction is so mixed, what does that tell you about the American operation?
Well, it tells you one thing. President Maduro was never very popular with many of his counterparts. So that accounts for part of the situation. But it is important to set this in the larger setting, and I think this is something that is now sinking in. This is the first U.S. military attack on the South American mainland ever in 200 years. We have had such attacks in the past on Mexico, on Central America, on the Caribbean, but never on the South American mainland. So a certain threshold has been crossed. We don't know what happens next. Mr. Trump has warned President Petro of Colombia to watch out. He has said Mexico might be next. Secretary of State Rubio has been talking about Cuba. So we are here in uncharted waters, in very dangerous territory. In the course of 2025, the Trump administration has undertaken military attacks on 7 countries. So we must really watch out for what happens next. And I think...
Does Trump always have this face? He's always got this, like, it's like a face that's like, I'm kind of paying attention, but I'm not really paying attention, but I need to look like I'm paying attention. Like...
The reaction of the international community should be a bit stronger than it should have been. I'm struck by how bland, for example, the European reaction has been. Europe is supposed to stand for international law, and yet the reaction has been very muted.
I did want to go back a little bit more on what you're talking about. Trump's comments, specifically when it comes to the Colombian president and other countries, as you mentioned. Did you interpret what his comments were specifically to the Colombian president as a veiled threat?
I certainly do so. And so, again, once this happens in Venezuela, other countries in South America and elsewhere in the region might be on the line. So I think it is important there be some international reaction. There's supposed to be a meeting of the United Nations Security Council. I hope some measures are taken. Otherwise, the international system is moving into outright lawlessness.
The interim president of Venezuela, which is the vice president there, has said that its country is ready to defend itself. Donald Trump, on the other hand, says his intention is to run Venezuela in the interim.
Which is a little scary. Like, what does he mean by run it? Like, is he going to install some American company, I guess, to come in and manage everything? Is he going to install a American politician? Which it seems like, I guess, Marco Rubio is the person that he's leaning into right now to control the whole area. But this gets really, really creepy, of course, with dictators and asserting power and solidifying power, because it's kind of how you do it. You just take over small stakes conflicts, complete the small stakes conflicts, get everybody on your side, and then because of the instability in the area, basically hand off that power to people that will be part of your coalition. And if they're part of your coalition and they're gaining from that, then it's really hard to get them to, like, not side with you on anything else, because of course a lot of what they're doing, like, I think if Marco Rubio did take over, hopefully if I'm not saying that correctly, oh my god, I'd kill myself. If he did take over Venezuela, the question is like what political influence does he get and what power does he have, and whether or not, like, do Venezuelans have rights, I guess, in any way, and do we end up with something that's very much like Palestine, but in Venezuela, where, like, let's say the occupying country, which would be the United States, on Venezuela versus, like, Israel and Palestine. These are not directly equal conflicts, so I just want to be very clear about this. But are we going to set up a kind of state or a system like that, which is, yeah, I don't know, who knows?
How do you see Venezuela defending itself, and what are you watching for in the coming days and weeks?
It can't defend itself.
Well, I think there's a remarkable contrast between the military position of the kidnapping of the Venezuelan president, which was undertaken very quickly in a couple of hours. He was already out of the country. And the many questions that are raised by what happens in Venezuela now. And I think President Trump's conference yesterday raised many more questions than answers. What does it mean that the U.S. will rule Venezuela? Will he appoint some sort of viceroy? Will Marco Rubio start running it, as he intimated yesterday, Mr. Trump did? So it's very unclear. And another thing that struck me is that many people thought that once Mr. Maduro was out of the country, the Venezuelan opposition, led by Ms. Maria Corina Machado, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, would sort of move smoothly in and start, running the country.
No way.
President. Well, that is not going to happen. Yesterday, Mr. Trump threw her under the bus and said she has no respect among Venezuelans. So there are many questions now about what will happen on the ground in Venezuela.
There's, on the one hand, what Trump said about the opposition. On the other hand, there are those who live within Venezuela who may be supporting her. How do you reconcile the differences there about how people feel they're in that country versus what President Trump is saying?
Well, the Venezuelan opposition has traditionally been extremely divided. They have never been able to get their act together and oust Mr. Maduro by themselves. They've therefore depended on U.S. intervention, and they thought they would be handed the government on a platter. Well, they haven't. And actually, the most realistic solution is, some sort of transitional government that goes on, led by Ms. Darcy Rodriguez, the former vice president, and take things from there. The opposition isn't going anywhere in Venezuela at this point.
There's so much uncertainty in that country. And
the thing is, too, is especially with dictators, like Venezuela has, if you just remove them, they're actually propped up by a huge coalition of locals, right? That's usually the way it is. And even if the coalition of locals isn't something that's isn't funded by the locals themselves, the fact that they have locals in the area that are willing to give this person some kind of power really does speak to like the cultural rot that's happening within the place. Like, for example, even though like Cuba has, I gotta be very careful here, but even though, for example, Cuba, they were getting a lot of Russian funding back during the Cold War, and that Russian funding did help, of course, keep and prop the oh my gosh, I gotta get these words in my head. Basically prop up the local government more than anything else. There's still a lot of very pro institutional Cubans who are very much like, no, this is the way that we do things, and then they do manage the power on the hierarchy all the way down. Just because like the majority of people in the area may dislike the power doesn't mean that they're of course not doing things to enable the power too. Or even, for example, they might have like cultural predispositions that do enable the certain dictator to do certain things. Like, this is why Americans are so proud of their gun culture, because basically you can't like it does give them some form of independence, some form of like the ability to say no to the smaller, softer powers that are involved in political takeovers. That's obviously starting to fail now in some kind of ways. But it's totally possible. It's totally possible the culture inside Venezuela has enabled a dictator, right? It's totally possible, even though they might not like the dictator, which is kind of scary how humans in particular, we I guess do things that are very selfish. Like we like things in one way and we press for things to be a certain way, even though the environment that we are creating is actually enabling the problems that we're attempting to address.
We've been seeing the images earlier this morning of people lining up outside of grocery stores trying to stock up on supplies because they don't know what's coming next. Realistically, how long can Venezuela remain in this uncertainty and instability, given what Trump has expressed and given what local politicians within that country are expressing?
Well, I will say this. This has created a lot of uncertainty. The notion that you undertake regime change simply by getting rid of the leader, or in this case, extricating
he's going to go over it right now,
and his wife in this case, and then somehow things will, look after themselves. It doesn't work that way. There is a regime beyond the leader, and there are many people that have worked with Mr. Maduro, and they will hold on to power. So the question now is, how will Mr. Trump and his government try to deal with them? What seems to be the plan is some sort of working arrangement between Washington and the government now led by Ms. Darcy Rodriguez. We'll see how that works out. The outlook, I would say, is not very bright.
I want to ask you finally about the oil industry there, because it's not just the change in regime, it's also the oil. And there's a lot of it there in Venezuela. Trump has mentioned he plans to control the industry, though how he plans to execute that, still not clear.
What happened there?
How much of a role is the oil here versus these other allegations about Maduro and these charges of narco-terrorism?
Well, look, the charges of narco-terrorism are really quite bogus. Latin America is perhaps the region in the world with the lowest amount of terrorism anywhere. And also the charges on drug trafficking are also quite bogus. There's never been a boat with fentanyl detained on the Caribbean Sea. That tells you everything you need to know about that. So my sense is that you're quite right.
Let's do this. I want to double check that. Has there been a boat with fentanyl captured? I can't spell. Captured on the Caribbean Sea. Caribbean? How do you spell Caribbean? What the fuck? Caribbean. Caribbean Sea. Caribbean Sea.
Right. The oil issue is central, and it also has to do with the petrodollar. there was an agreement between Henry Kissinger and Saudi Arabia in 1974 that all oil transactions, international oil transactions, should be paid for in dollars. Now that has come under fire. A number of countries are not doing that. Venezuela was not doing that. And that, of course, is very important for the U.S. economy. So I think an important part of what is happening in Venezuela has to do that, to save that petrodollar arrangement.
Jorge Heine, thank you so much for your time and for your insight this morning and for talking to us today.
Thank you.
There's definitely bigger things going on in the back end. Like
It wasn't necessary, 'cause
a lot of my American buddies are like, well, this is kind of good. Let's talk about the people. I think there's something bigger going on in the background. This isn't like a move that is altruistic. It could literally just be that Trump wants money. It could literally just be that Trump has gotten a big paycheck and someone is telling him that, hey, you know, these people are bringing in lots of the worst drugs of the worst people, and we would make billions of dollars if we had access to this space, and then or this access to this resource. And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes perfect sense. But there's something else going on here. This is obviously is for energy, but focusing on Trump, I think, is a little bit too much. There's a lot of people behind this. There's going to be thousands of people behind this kind of invasion and kidnapping or police work that they did. That yeah, anyway, there's just thousands of people behind this, obviously. Framing it all as though it's a Trump thing seems a little wild to me. BC reacts. Do I care about what BC reacts? Oh God, I'm so embarrassed. Oh, BC. Oh, guys, please no. This is all. Yeah, we got the Palestine flags. Wait, sorry. What am I doing? Is that the Palestine flag? I just want to make sure if it's the right color. Oh, that's not Palestine. Is that Venezuela? That's Venezuela. I'm retarded. Venezuela. I'm just not typing anything correctly today. Wait a minute. That is the Palestine flag. Oh God, I'm gonna. Let's watch this. I can't do this.
A group gathers at the steps of the Vancouver Art Gallery, opposing the United States operation in Venezuela.
They have no right to intervene in Venezuela.
It's not about drugs. It's not about democracy. It's about oil and money going into the hands of American capitalism.
Venezuela is not theirs. It's for the people of Venezuela, and we completely stand with them.
U.S. President Donald Trump says American forces captured Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and his wife early Saturday, and the U.S. will now run the country until a proper transition can take place. Some from BC's Venezuelan community believe...
What flags are we looking at here? Okay. What flag is this? So we got Palestine flag, we got the Venezuelan flag. Let's see what we got. What is this? Is that green, white, and red? We should probably check up on this quick search. Yes, this is a lie then. He lied. Wait a minute. Yes, at least one high-profile case was reported in the Caribbean Sea, October 2025. U.S. is... Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, this is from... like a few months ago. U.S. force struck... interdicted a suspected drug smuggling semi-submersible drug sub in the Caribbean Sea, and the U.S. officials said he was carrying fentanyl along with 2 other narcotics. 2 survivors were taken aboard and treated and later transferred to the Colombian Ecuadorian authorities. It's so hard to tell what's going on with the Trump admin with Reuters. Okay. 2 important caveats. In that incident, the fentanyl claim was an official assertion. Public independently verified details about the exact cargo were limited. Yeah, so that's the thing. Multiple analysis and fact check note that the most illicit fentanyl entering the U.S. is typically moved over land, and that the Coast Guard interdictions in the Caribbean, Eastern Pacific overwhelmingly involved cocaine. So sometimes it's marijuana, with fentanyl described as rare in those maritime cases. What flag is this? What flag is this? Okay, we're going to keep watching this BC video, but there's going to be so much misinformation around the invasion that we are going to have to work. The Iranian tricolor, the lion and sun emblem at the center, a historical version of Iran's flag. Why the hell is he wearing it?
It may be a positive step forward for the country.
Having the opportunity for a change is definitely something that we welcome. It's going to be a long road. We know that. So we're prepared, but it's a step in that direction.
Another one of Trump's hopes, he says, rebuilding Venezuela's oil infrastructure, which one UBC expert warns could threaten Canada's crude oil trade.
Venezuelan oil is chemically similar to the oil sands oil out of Alberta, and as a result, the Gulf Coast refineries could use it and substitute Canadian crude for the Venezuelan oil down the road.
He says to mitigate the potential impact, Canada must diversify energy exports quickly,
including
fast-tracking a pipeline between Alberta and BC.
If we turbocharge permitting and we're serious about building new linear infrastructure for oil and gas, we're looking at probably a 5 to 7 year time horizon in the best case scenario. Well, that is easily enough time for lots of Venezuela crude to come online and seriously harm the Canadian economy.
Prime Minister Mark Carney reacting on social media.
What does Mark Carney say? One of the first actions taken by Canada's new government in March 2025 was to impose additional sanctions on Nicolas Maduro's brutally oppressive and criminal regime, unequivocally condemning his grave breaches of international peace and security, gross and systematic human rights violations, corruption. Canada has not recognized the illegitimate regime of Maduro since it stole the 2018 election. The Canadian government therefore welcomes the opportunity for freedom, democracy, and peace and prosperity for the Venezuelan people. Canada has long supported a peaceful, negotiated and Venezuelan-led transition process that respects the democratic will of the Venezuelan people, in keeping with our long-standing commitment to
Canada has not recognized the illegitimate regime of Maduro in its advisory, urging people to avoid all travel to Venezuela as the country's airspace could close with little notice.
I always love that. Let's take a look. Venezuela. I can't even fucking type. Hotel prices. Wait. Let's check. What are the hotel prices near, what was it called? Caracas? It's a pretty nice places. They're still charging like $100 and something bucks a night. What's this $30 a night? Is this going to be like a warehouse? Nothing? There's no photos? I do want to see this. What's the... Maybe they're the only ones that have updated their price. Hotel Cajijal. Photos. Oh my god. That's terrifying. Anyways. Okay, well. That's surprising. That's really surprising. What are the hotel prices? I gotta take a look somewhere. Out of... what's a good... Well, Brazil. Oh, yeah, hotel prices are still pretty freaking cheap. $24 a night. Wait, what's the... I'm getting a little distracted. Let's not... Okay, anyways. Let's take a quick look then. I want to... Should I go... I don't know if I should go take a look and see what my freaking retard province is doing. Do we have U.S. captures global news? This is all like Canadian shiza, ain't it? Breaking news. Oh, this is just telling us about what went on.
Because this was not an invasion. We didn't occupy a country. This was an arrest operation. This was a law enforcement operation. He was arrested on the ground in Venezuela by FBI agents, read his rights, and removed from the country. Obviously, this was not a friendly territory.
Is there an actual analysis of it? Let's take a look. It's Venezuela invasion timeline. Do we have a timeline on it? Oh, we have some videos, I guess. Let's take a look.
In a dramatic new phase of President Trump's second term, the U.S. launched large-scale military strikes inside of Venezuela Saturday, with U.S. forces capturing President Nicolas Maduro in just hours. Here's how it unfolded. Reports of loud explosions and low-flying aircraft in the Venezuelan capital of Caracas began around 2 a.m.
Venezuela footage. Let's take a look. There's probably a few of them. Oh, Jesus. No, wait, is this AI?
Wow, what a night it was. On Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, around 2 a.m. local time in Caracas, the United States attacked Venezuela. It was a major air and ground operation that occurred in and around the capital, with additional reported activity in the states of Miranda, La Guaira, and Aragua. As you can see on the images, the residents reported multiple explosions, low-flying aircraft, and power outages in parts of the capital. Meanwhile, the Venezuelan government statements allege that both military and civilian infrastructure were hit. Some very important installations were probably destroyed. Of course, this is still very new information, so we are still learning what is exactly that happened. But there are reports that strikes happened near the Feurte Tuna, a major military complex. And it seems that the Maduro dictatorship was totally surprised of what has happened. However, it wasn't like it came out of nowhere. The United States have been gathering forces around the Caribbean for months now, including the biggest aircraft carrier that the United States have, USS Gerald R. Ford. It's one of the biggest U.S. military buildup.
I wonder if there's history of
this region. It was.
I wonder if we can get like aerial history. There's a lot of plane track history. History tracker. No. History map. Let's keep playing this.
Estimated that the overall force numbered around 15,000 personnel. That includes ship, aircraft, and marines. If you would like to get that graph showing you the exact numbers, I will post it on my Telegram channel. So
wait, let's just... U.S. Southern Command, SATCOM, air and naval assets, 10,000 plus troops in theater. U.S. Air Force, B-52H bombers integrate with the Marine F-35BS to F-35Bs to conduct bomber attacks. Demo AC Ghost Rider gunships arrive in Puerto Rico. U.S. Special Forces spotted near Trinidad and Tobago. What have we got? So, okay, they had a few planes and boats just outside of... Oh, is it really not gonna... Oh, yeah, I'm gonna full screen this. There we go. So we'd be looking at it like this. I think... So just around Puerto Rico. They have... let's bring this up. So they basically amassed a bunch of ships and planes just off the coast over the past few months. Is there dates and stuff here? Naval assets. It's just telling us how much is there. It's a total breakdown. What types of ships? Which ships were there?
The exact numbers, I will post it on my Telegram channel, so make sure you check it out. I will probably also post it on my X account, so make sure to check out that also. Links will be in the description of this video. Anyway, the amount of forces gathered around Venezuela means that the United States have almost infinite possibilities to strike Caracas. That could be planes, as you saw, but it can also be Tomahawk missiles fired from the destroyers or even the submarines that are gathered around Venezuela. That's why right before the attack, Maduro was calling Trump because he knew that he has no chance of surviving if the United States attack.
And here's, if he was actually calling, oh my God. I would like to check that out. If Maduro was calling Trump ahead of time, then maybe he would have just given up. Like, possibly, totally. Like, if Trump said, we're going to come in, we're going to bomb your house and pull you and your wife out, would he have just given up? Maybe he would have negotiated something, but possibly that Trump actually, like, needed... I just want to listen to that again.
But it can also be Tomahawk missiles fired from the destroyers or even the submarines that are gathered around Venezuela. That's why right before the attack, Maduro was calling Trump because he knew that he has no chance of surviving if the United States attack. However, what the United States have achieved in this military operation is truly remarkable because it involved special forces on a territory of the enemy. Perhaps the only force that could match this is the Israeli special forces. But still, the United States, I mean, that was just fantastic what they did. Before we will talk about the results of this attack, I want you to see this video because I think it's pretty cool.
We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God.
What is
someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
What am I watching right now? What the fuck? Is there a point to this?
Joke.
He's offered everything.
Once again,
you know why?
Thing is for sure. One thing is for sure.
That was weird.
Under Trump, the U.S. military is no joke.
He's offered everything.
Once again,
you know why?
The United
This is not just under Trump. This is the United States military all the time. This is the United States military that that Biden ran and maintained, right? Like, and trained. It's not like Trump just came in and suddenly the U.S. military were suddenly experts. No, this is like, this is the way that they. This is a really weird video. I'm super suspicious.
Army is the most feared force in the world. Yep,
it already was.
That's no joke. The United States have captured Maduro in his country, on his territory, while he knew that the strike will probably happen very soon. This is a clear message to other dictators. Watch out. They're probably thinking right now. Now, would I be protected? Could they do it to me if they wanted? This is something that puts a lot of fear.
They've known this forever.
On, for example, the leader of Iran.
It doesn't teach them anything
Putin
new.
Maybe scratching his head right now because Venezuela was a close ally of Russia. This is probably the second most impressive operation under Trump's presidency. It may be the first one. It may be even more impressive than the one where Iran was attacked by B-2 bombers. However, I still think that the attack on Iran was probably more impressive because it required much more coordination. I mean, just think about it. The B-2 bombers dropped.
Hold on. What is Venezuela going to do? Are they going to shoot back at American helicopters? What is Iran going to do? You think they're going to shoot down American jets? This video is wild to me. This is
bunker.
I shouldn't have started watching this.
Penetrators from a very high
I want to see the actual footage.
And it went into the mountain to destroy the nuclear facility. The Iranians were sure that nothing can touch them. I mean, it's inside the mountain.
No, they would. No way. No, this is no.
What can you do? And yet, the United States
almost
did
100K videos.
Now we know.
We're not talking about. I hate this video. I'm gonna stop watching it. I'm gonna comment too. This video is actually terrible. You all should feel bad for watching. It's just a shotgun of random information that has nothing to do with the title. I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore. I don't want to give this guy views. That's crazy. Okay, we're getting weird stuff. I want to actually see the video footage. Venezuela explosions. So we could probably figure out which hotel this is, or which building this is. And possibly figure out what they're doing. Where is this? So there's a major road. We do have Google Maps. And we know it was in Caracas. And that looks like it's coming from... We saw one of the hotels. Could be one of these ones right here. It's hard to tell. We'll take a look in the video, see what we can find. It looks like smoke from the explosion. These white buildings, I wish I know. Maybe I can just add GPT. Hold on. Can you figure out where this image has been taken from? Oh, so I not even post the image? There we go. Do I get... Come on. There's a shot here that gives me like a clear view of the area. Is it early on or is it... There's one that's like... Yeah, is it this one? Boom. Too many clouds in the sky. Not much here. I prefer that. This is a good video. I like that video. Can I get actual video? I don't want opinions. Venezuela footage. This is basically it. This can't... This has got to be a fake shot. This has to be a fake shot. Maduro's last video. Venezuela president appears on camera just hours before back-to-back blasts.
Amor. Ay, no. Mira eso. Amor. Ay, no.
Que si quieren petróleo de Venezuela, está lista Venezuela para inversión estadounidense como con Chevron. Cuando quieran, donde quiera y como quieran. Ahí estuve viendo.
Can I get...
There I was seeing speculations about it.
Yeah, there we go. Let's listen to
Que
this.
si quieren petróleo de
Closed captions.
Venezuela, está lista Venezuela para inversión estadounidense como con Chevron.
Oh, is it just
Cuando
translated?
quieran, donde quiera y como quieran. Ahí estuve viendo.
There I was seeing speculations about a second conversation. We have had, Raminit, only one conversation. U.S. President Donald Trump called me on Friday, November 21st, from the White House. He was there and I was in the Miraflores Palace. We spoke for 10 minutes and it was, as I say, a very respectful conversation.
Muy respetuosa, y el gobierno de Estados Unidos lo sabe.
The U.S. government knows because we've told many of their spokespeople that if they want to seriously discuss an agreement to combat drug trafficking, we're ready. If they want oil, Venezuela is ready for U.S. investment like with
Trump didn't like that. I can tell. I don't know if this is like the conversation. Obviously, I'm making some big assumptions here, but like, obviously, Trump. If I am up against somebody who has like significantly less power than me, and I ask them a question, and I say, "Hey, can you deal with this? Can you deal with this problem that's causing me a headache?" And they go, "We can talk about it." I'm sorry, like this is like the internal dictator in me. That's like, I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna crush you. We talk about it. I ask you what to do. I ask you to fix a problem, and you fix it. And I do think like this is probably where the Democrats too have had an issue with this, and I really think like the United States, of course, is going down this weird authoritarian path right now, but it still could have like the I guess traditional American values that I know about without having to like give up freedoms if they just kind of applied what Trump is applying right now and saying, no, like rule of law matters for American citizens. There's a separate process for non-American citizens, and international law is kind of actually American law. When we ask you to stop trafficking drugs into our country, you need to stop. Now, Trump is too dumb. Trump doesn't know where the drugs are coming from or what's going on or anything like that. But that's not like what men like him or what, especially business owners think about. When if they have a problem that's like, I don't know, there's snow in the driveway. I'm sorry, as a Canadian, that's a common one, right? They don't want to have somebody they don't want to show up the next day and there still be snow in the driveway. And the person going, well, we can talk about how we're going to fix that. No, they want to say there's snow in the driveway and for them to show up the next day and there not be snow in the driveway. Like, it's a very, very simple thing. So when Trump probably asked him, hey, again, like, I think there's drugs, he doesn't want to hear, well, the snow, the drugs, the snow isn't that deep, you can drive your car over it. He wants to hear, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, we're going to stop it right away.
Chevron, whenever they want it, wherever they want it, and however they want it.
Cuando quieran, donde quiera y como quieran. Lo que yo sí te...
What I can tell you is that the national defense system,
these reporters, I guess,
which combines popular, military, and police forces, has guaranteed and continues to guarantee territorial integrity, peace in the country, and...
It's interesting. He's driving his own car, which is very interesting for rulers of countries.
...in the use and enjoyment of all our territories, and our people are safe and at peace. I can give you a preview of something there.
Interesting. To me, that doesn't sound like a good negotiation. It sounds like, again, Trump made a request, or maybe hinted a request that maybe Trump didn't even know himself to what depth, like, he was asking of the thing, or even, like, maybe not even accurate, asking it correctly in some kind of way. But, like, on the international stage, too, as Canadian, I want to push back on a lot of these things. But the idea is, when Trump says, hey, you need to stop drugs from coming across the border, the response isn't, well, we've done this and we have this and that. Yeah, we will. We'll increase that. We'll do that right now. And then you say we do a lot, we do better than everybody else, and then you bring him the good news and you show him that, hey, no, we don't have that many drugs that come across the border. There's probably more drugs that come from the United States up into Canada than they do the other way around. A big claim of mine. I'm not really sure, but I'm just making a little hyperbolic there. It's, you just go, yeah, that's power, man. That's power. Now, again, I think it's terrible. A terrible way of doing power, because it means that if they decide that a world leader in some kind of form is a criminal, they can decide any world leader is a criminal. And, well, they can, of course, that maybe that's not morally or intellectually sound in some kind of way. It's just the way things are. Let's see if there's any more footage. Is it all just dependent? Canada divided over, do I want to watch this? Let's watch more Canada stuff.
In the kitchen of Latin Dough restaurant in the west end of Toronto, its Venezuelan owners are celebrating.
We had a miracle, and today is a miracle. Enjoy.
The grateful President Nicolas Maduro was captured and removed from the country.
Today, what actually happened was just finally we are free from this I don't know, this tyrant.
The couple moved from Venezuela to Canada nearly a decade ago, among millions who fled their home.
We are grateful that we were able to come to Canada, but obviously it takes a toll on you when your family, you don't see your parents for 8 years.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand wrote in a statement, since 2019, she said, we have refused to recognize any legitimacy.
The problem too is a lot of this is emotional relief. I understand this makes sense, but of course, if the country actually falls into some kind of oil baron dictatorship, that is an international oil baron as opposed to a local oil baron, man, we may see some crazy shit go down. Let's just hope it doesn't happen. Like, this isn't the conclusion, right? Like, usurping a dictator is the start, right? People like to think like, we did it, we got rid of him. It's the start of change. It's not change itself.
And opposed its repression of the Venezuelan people, adding, Canada calls on all parties to respect international law.
Yeah, no shit.
Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre, whose wife was born in Venezuela, praised the U.S. for its military move on Venezuela, writing,
cowards.
Congratulations to President Trump.
No, see, this is so cowardly, too. What we do is we thank this opportunity. We're very thankful for this opportunity to change a nation, to get rid of a current dictator and whatnot. We are very worried about President Trump's decision are very concerned with President Trump's decision to, I guess, in other words, unilaterally basically pluck somebody from a different country. But I don't know. This is just really cowardly too. It just seems like we went like cowards in both ways. We should never say, yes, Trump, sir, we love you. Thank you so much, Trump. Thank you so much. That's just like that's a terrible idea. But what we should do is we should go, good job. Good job. Now release the Epstein files. Thank you so much for that. Now release the Epstein files, good sir.
Successfully arresting narco-terrorist and socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro, who should live out his days in prison.
This is not a government. It's a bunch of crooked, corrupt narco people.
So we say no.
Not everyone here agrees with the means used to remove Maduro. Outside the U.S. consulate in Toronto, vocal opposition.
What you are viewing is full-scale use of military to steal the resources on other countries. And they're going to come for Canada. They're going to come for our water. They're going to come for our oil. They're going to come for our potash.
There was no consultation in particular about this decision.
Canada's former ambassador to the United Nations is Bob Rae.
The notion that America has the right to do whatever it wants in the region without anybody saying anything about it is, to put it mildly, problematic and difficult.
But Ana Mendes has hope for the future of Venezuela now.
One of the most beautiful countries in the world, the beaches, the people, the women, everything, the food.
Getting rid of Maduro is a good thing for a lot of people.
But among those who support Maduro's forced removal here, still a lot of questions about
what are these flags? What flag is this?
Hold on.
What flag is this? What flag is this? Oh my God. There we go.
He's back home.
Uruguay. Why the fuck is Uruguay? Wait a minute. Uruguay. It's nearby, right? But it's like... God, wouldn't it be nice if people went to one of these protests and flew a Canadian flag? That would be really nice. I would appreciate that.
Sean O'Shea, Global News, Toronto.
How much oil? How much oil is in Venezuela? Venezuela. And we also got to ask how many companies are in Venezuela. Oh, I don't want to have to wait for good answers, but I gotta wait for good answers. Hey, birds. Hey. Huh. It's like a high. Wait a minute. What the hell? So if I go over to Venezuela, do we have as many highways, or is this one of these countries that's like? Yeah, there's not really many highways. You can tell. Interesting. Interesting. Can I get my answer? Venezuela has about 303 billion barrels of provided crude oil reserves, the largest total reported by any country. More than that is heavy crude in the was it Orinoco Belt? What the hell's this? Most of that is heavy crude in the Orinoco Belt, separately from proved reserves. The USGS estimated that the Orinoco Belt contains holy shoot, 513 billion barrels of technically recoverable heavy oil, which is a different category than provided reserves. As a rough share of the world's 17 to 20 freaking percent. That's what's going on here. Of course, it is an oil thing. Compared to Canada and the USA and Russia. What are we looking at? The Orinoco Belt. So this is this whole section, which lies just inside their borders. Oh, right in the middle of their borders. Never mind. That wasn't a border. And I imagine the belt is probably just like a section that's it's all oil, right? Yeah, down below here. Venezuela, Canada's 163 billion barrels. Russia has 58 billion. Holy shoot. That's a lot of extra oil. Holy crap. Yeah, no wonder Trump wants it. This is crazy. Give me 20. So there's like 600 billion barrels of oil. What is the usage then? It's the other window. Okay, how many barrels does the USA go through per year. In 2023, U.S. had 7.3 billion barrels of petroleum. 7.4 billion barrels of petroleum. So what are we looking at? If that's... It's like 100 years of oil? Holy shit.